U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen will travel to New Delhi to participate in the G20 Leaders Summit. The summit, which is scheduled from 7th September to 10th of September, will mark her fourth visit to India in 10 months. Yellen intends on strengthening global economy and supporting low and middle income countries by advancing debt restructuring. The Treasury also said that Yellen will rally to maintain support for Ukraine and increase costs against Russia over the ongoing war. Markets and trade came in for a halt in Cameroonian town following a coup in the neighboring Gabon. This after the military ousted Gabon's President Ali Bongo in what is now the 8th coup in West and Central Africa since 2020. Following the coup, the African Union suspended Gabon's membership of the INA, first response to the coup. Meanwhile, the junta has resumed domestic flights and restored some state institutions, but the land and air borders remain shut. Residents in the bordering Cameroon towns fear that the prolonged closure of borders will affect local markets as Gabon citizens make a sizable portion of its customers. Niger's ruling junta has ordered police to expel France's ambassador, a move that will strain an already frosty relationship with the nation's former colonial ruler. The coup leaders, along with juntas in neighboring countries of Mali and Burkina Faso, are distancing themselves from France, kick-starting a wave of anti-French sentiment. The junta has also issued a statement saying the visas of French ambassador and his family have been cancelled. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that he is in talks with the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov to revive the Black Sea grain deal. Guterres has sent a set of concrete proposals to Moscow's foreign leader to help the safe export of Ukrainian grain through Black Sea. This after Russia snapped off the deal in July this year. Russia's exit from followed through a year after UN and Turkey brokered the deal. Moscow has raised complaints saying its own food and fertilizer exports faced obstacles as part of the deal. Moreover, it claims that the Ukrainian grain was not reaching enough countries in need. Kazakhstan will hold a referendum to decide whether to build its first nuclear power plant. The Central Asian nation government has long discussed the idea, citing the need for new power generation capacity. Kazakhstan has also mentioned Russia's Rosatom as a potential partner, but some activists oppose the project because of the safety concerns and Kazakhstan's history as home to the Soviet-operated semi-nuclear weapons testing ground. China's foreign ministry has acknowledged a blessing given by Pope Francis, saying it demonstrated friendship and goodwill. Francis arrived in Mongolia earlier on a visit, and as a customary practice, via greetings to the leaders of each country he flies over, including China, with which the Vatican has had difficult relations. Pope Francis told Chinese President Xi Jinping he had good wishes for all the people of China and assured the president of his prayers for the well-being of the nation. The Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin said Beijing was open to improving relations with the Vatican. China has urged the United States to stop meddling in the South China Sea by taking a position over the sovereignty of islands and relief in the area. While condemning Washington's intervention, Beijing added that it is disrupting regional peace and stability. Recently, the commander of the U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet berated China's use of water cannons on a Philippines vessel. This as he also assured Philippines of full U.S. backing when in need. More than 20,000 Indonesian police and military personnel have been deployed in Jakarta to boost security in the capital city. This comes ahead of the upcoming 43rd Southeast Asian Nations Summit. The summit will be held from September 5th to 8th in a bid to reduce carbon emissions during the Leaders' Summit. The government has instructed around 75% of people working near the event venue in Jakarta to work from home. The Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has staged a televised disaster drill. This comes even as the country marks its 100th year of the 1923 Kanto quake that killed more than 100,000 people. The 7.9 magnitude earthquake that struck the Sagamihara area on September 1st, 1923 triggered a widespread inferno in the region, causing most of the victims to perish in the fire. Under the scenario of the magnitude 7.3 hitting central Tokyo, Kishida and his cabinet ministers walked to the Prime Minister's office for an emergency response meeting online to discuss initial measures. Inflation in the crisis-hit Sri Lanka has eased to 4% in August, and according to officials, this is the lowest since last year's unprecedented financial crisis. The island nation has endured months of food, fuel and medicine shortages after a foreign exchange crunch that sparked widespread protests, which ultimately led to the ouster of the president. Sri Lanka's central bank has said it expects the figure to continue its downward trend in the future. The country defaulted on its $46 billion foreign debt last year, but secured a 4-year stop. After years of dividing the rich and poor in Peru, a wall of stones and cement along a hillside known as the Wall of Shame has begun to be torn down. The wall divides neighbors with no basic services from those with luxury homes in the privileged neighborhood. The Wall of Shame began to be demolished this week due to the ruling by the Constitutional Court after a 4-year legal battle between the two sides. The wall has always been seen as an example of great inequalities in the South American country. The construction of the wall began in the 1980s by the residents of La Molina Presidential District, citing security concerns. Brazil's President Lula da Silva has raised concerns from an anti-poverty and food insecurity plan on Thursday. As per the leader, the program called Brazil Without Hunger is aimed at not just addressing food insecurity but also the overall quality of life. Just 8 years ago, Brazil hit its UN target of eliminating widespread malnourishment. Since then, the share of Brazilians who cannot feed their families has more than doubled and stands at 36%. Rampant inflation has pushed food insecurity levels, widening the country's stark social inequality. The U.S. federal court has sentenced former far-right Proud Boys leader Joseph Biggs to 17 years in prison. This, along with his co-defendant Zachary Rehl, who has been sentenced to 15 years in jail. The judgment came after a jury convicted them of seditious conspiracy for storming the U.S. Capitol. The attack was a failed attempt at trying to overturn the former U.S. President Donald Trump's 2020 election. Biggs and Rehl are the first Proud Boys to be sentenced to their roles in January 2021 attack. U.S. President Joe Biden is set to visit Florida to survey the damage from Hurricane Idalia. The storm pounded the state with gusty winds and heavy flooding, disrupting daily life. Idalia slammed into Florida's Big Bend area as a powerful Category 3 hurricane. President Biden said that he has spoken to Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis to offer federal help for state recovery. Meanwhile, he also pressed and called upon the Congress to approve disaster funds by no later than September. At least 2 people have been killed and 3 others have been reported injured in a shooting incident in Texas. The shooting took place during early hours on Thursday near a shopping center in Austin. Following the incident, the Austin Police Department took to X, formerly known as Twitter, to assure that that there was no reason and no threat anymore. While one person has sustained life-threatening injuries, no suspects have been detained by the police in relation to the crime. The super typhoon Saola is ready to brush the city of Hong Kong with winds gusting up to 200 kilometers per hour. This, as authorities have raised the strong wind signal to number 8. The alert has led to the cancellation of several flights, along with the shutting down of most businesses, schools and even the stock exchange. As the satellite imagery showed the eye of the super typhoon near the Chinese coast, experts are predicting that this could be the country's worst typhoon in 5 years. The rare blue supermoon appeared in skies around the world on Wednesday and Thursday. The moon is considered to be a supermoon when it reaches the closest point to Earth in its orbit, making it appear larger from Earth. The national satellite increased by at least 7% in diameter. The next blue supermoon will not be seen until the 2030s. Moodys Investor Service said that the global economy was set to slow down as inflation remains stickier than expected, but the ratings agency remains bullish on India and Indonesia, calling them pockets of resilience amid slowing economic growth globally. Moodys also expects China's economic recovery to take much longer than expected. The Indian rupee opened higher against the US dollar after India's gross domestic product data came in better than expected. That's mostly because India's economy exceeded expectations by growing 7.8% in the April-June quarter and would further attract overseas money flow, according to experts. The dollar index dropped while Treasury yields fell due to weak economic data on growth and jobs, causing uncertainty about the US Federal Reserve rate hikes. The Philippines President Bongbong Marcos has imposed a price cap on rice as the Southeast Asian country grapples with some of the highest inflation in the region. The inflation rate for rice in the Philippines rose from 1% in January 2022 to 4.2% in July 2023. Overall inflation hit a 14-year high of 8.7% in January before easing to 4.7% in July. In a welcome relief for LPG consumers in India, public sector oil marketing companies or OMCs have announced a significant price reduction of $1.91 of 19 kilograms of commercial LPG gas cylinders effective today. Delhi's retail sales price for these cylinders will be $18.42. This follows a recent reduction of $2.42 in domestic LPG prices by the central government on the occasion of Raksha Bandhan. Monthly revisions for both commercial and domestic LPG cylinders occur on the first day of each month, with changes taking effect on September 1st. India's Ministry of External Affairs unveiled a new initiative to enhance visitor services both for its citizens abroad and foreign travellers. The program emphasizes 4 core pillars: quality services, sustainable pricing, data protection and ethical practices. The aim is to create a positive and lasting first impression for international travellers arriving in India, aligning with the nation's commitment to elevate its global image by raising service standards and fostering reliability. The ministry seeks to ensure that interactions with India's diplomatic missions worldwide are efficient, trustworthy and consistent.